Hello guys, my name is Tavia from Tavi Talks, and I have a special guest for us today. Toledo's very own NBA athletic star and best two sports record beating in Toledo, and favorite friend of the community, Terry Crosby. Terry, it's so nice to have you here. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling absolutely amazing, Tavi. I really am. Hey, I got your name right.
Yeah. You sure
I really am. I really appreciate being here this morning, getting ready to get on and do this interview with you, because you just make it so easy. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
Nice to have you here, finally getting you here in our chair. So I'm so excited.
Yes, me too.
Before I get and dive deeply into the life story, I just wanted to do a quick icebreaker to just warm up the room.
Yes.
So today we're going to be playing the imagination game. You talk so highly about your mother, and I really want to tap into that space with you. So in the imagination game, you're going to close your eyes, and we're going to imagine you in your younger self. And you are just getting off of the school bus, running into the home. You drop your book bag and you smell your mama's cooking.
Oh my God.
So yeah, now you're hungry, now you're ready. You go to the dining table and your mother places a plate in front of you. What type of food is it?
You know what, Tavi, I really look forward to coming on, because my mom was the type of mom where she would cook a balanced meal every day. I mean, meat and potatoes, and we always had a small bowl of salad. She made sure that you got that goodness inside of you, but I would be smelling fried corn, candy yams, cornbread, fried chicken, and it was just such a gratifying aroma in the house. You know what I mean? As soon as you walk in, you could just smell that mama's goodness. And my mom, to be honest with you, our Crosby household was more like a flop house.
Okay.
Even though I was the only child, it really was like a flop house. My mom cooked big pots of everything, just to ensure that the community, not just me and my dad, as you know, I'm the only child, but the community, if they happened to stop by, it was plenty for everybody. So, such a great feeling.
So your mom was a soulful
Yes.
cooker. She wanted to make sure that you ate good, you felt good, and then she shared it to your community.
Absolutely.
So now we already know where your heart comes from. It comes from your mama.
Right.
Well, wow, not only did you make all of us hungry, but you just shared something about your mom, which is beautiful. I love that she gave the food to the community. How sweet is that?
And my dad could cook really well too, believe it or not. So that's why I'm right now today a pretty good chef in the kitchen.
There we go.
I can get on too, but I always remember my dad used to cook kidneys and scalloped potatoes and onions. Kidneys. He was like one of them type of guys, like, that eat the guts out of things and whatever. And my mom used to go absolutely ballistic, because those kidneys, they stink up the whole house.
Exactly.
They stink up the whole house. And I mean, you could smell it for miles when they did. Kidneys and scalloped potatoes and onions.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad that I didn't get a chance to experience that. My family never cooked any kidneys of any sort. So thank you, parents, for that.
And it was only me and him who ate it. My mom used to get really upset every time he cooked it.
Wow.
Because it just stunk the whole house up. And, I acquired a taste for it after a while.
Okay.
And I started getting down, put some ketchup on it. But so they both was very good in the kitchen. Absolutely.
That's really good. That's like my parents. They throw down as well. That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. So let's dive into it. Terry, I have done some research on you, and you had an amazing story, and I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper and tell our audience about your childhood. Just start from the beginning. Talk about growing up in your home situation.
Well, I grew up on the west side of Toledo on Parkdale Avenue. I went to grade school at Nathan Hale Elementary.
Okay.
Of course, I've always been actively involved in sports, all sports, baseball, football, basketball. And I just happened to be pretty good. And our neighborhood on the West End was just absolutely stacked with great athletes.
Okay.
And you know, we would be outside, not like today.
Yeah.
We would be outside all day.
All day.
Until the street lights came on. And what you can understand that you had to be home when the street lights came on, you know. And sometimes that would even be in the summertime before it got dark. It didn't matter. My mama used to say, I didn't tell you you had to be in when it got dark.
Right.
I told you to be in when the street lights come on. So,
wow.
you know, it was kind of always a thing of like attention to detail, even back then, you know, that made me, you know, trust and recognize and appreciate what she was saying to me.
Yeah.
I knew that I had to be home, you know, when the street lights came on. But it was a playful, loving community over there. We all were athletes. We all had little girlfriends, you know, well, we thought we had little girlfriends, you know,
right.
down the street or whatever, around the corner or whatever. So it was a loving environment, community. And I will say, I really experienced firsthand when people say it takes a village.
It does.
Because that's what it was. Yes.
And so I'm seeing already a pattern here of, you know, your passion for sports, but it really seems like it tapped into just your passion for community and for outreach.
Yes.
And it started very young. So talk about your home dynamic and how these seeds were planted inside of you.
Well, as an only child, as most people would think, that we are spoiled. That's not the case in the Crosby household. Okay. As an only child, I learned that any and everything that you want, you have to work for it. Okay. No one, and I mean no one, is going to give you anything. And I think that instilled, psychologically instilled a will in me to work really, really hard for whatever I want, because that's what I was taught, you know, by both my parents. They both were middle class. They both had extremely good jobs back then. I mean, my mom, I just want to tell this brief story. My mom was one of 8 candidates for a job as the secretary to the Attorney General at Erie Army Depot way back in the mid-60s in Port Clinton, Ohio, right? So her being a black queen, she was up against 7 other Caucasian ladies back in the 60s at that time.
Wow.
And I always remember the morning that she was going to the interview. She had a hot bath, her hair was immaculate, she was smelling good. She had the sharpest outfit on you. I can still remember it vividly today. She stepped out of our house, drove to Port Clinton, and you know, that Attorney General with all that competition she had, hired her. Hired her.
Come on, Mama.
Yes,
absolutely.
Hired her.
Wow.
So there for a while, 3 or 4 years in a row, she worked in Port Clinton as the private secretary to the Attorney General at Erie Army Depot.
For her, that is amazing.
So that's a standard.
In the 60s.
In the 60s. That is a standard that she set for me.
So let's talk about your parents' personalities.
Yes.
You know, how was your mother?
Well, my mom and dad, again, were very successful people. Like I said, I was born and raised in kind of like a middle class.
Yeah.
We weren't poor and we weren't rich,
right,
you know.
Right.
In fact, we bought a house on Parkdown. We were there at the time. We were the second black family to be able to move into that area. But I will say, back in the day, I didn't necessarily like my parents. In fact, I felt like I kind of hated them, you know, just because they were so strict.
Okay.
And so disciplined, you know. And, you know, you had to say your blessings before you were served with food. And everything's with yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. And no, ma'am, and no, sir. You know, just those characteristics, those values, those standards that I feel like has shaped me into the man I am today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So back then, I might say I felt I didn't like them. But now that they're no longer here, I really appreciate everything they taught me. And I love my parents to death. I do. we were a closely knit family. We really, really were.
Good.
So, and I was taught well.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, I was taught etiquette. I was taught, back then, etiquette. I mean, that might be why I think I'm so smooth now. You know what I mean? But, that's a whole nother thing. I was taught values. I was taught character.
Good,
I was taught manners. I was
Which is
taught
honestly,
standards.
some of those things, growing up in these generations now, people are missing.
Yes.
We're missing that discipline,
Yes.
those values,
Yes.
that etiquette.
Yes. We really are.
You know, it's really good that you grew up in that foundation because now that you're so heavily in the community, you are naturally pouring that out to people.
I am.
Yeah.
And if there's one significant thing about me that I would like to mention, everything I share is not necessarily out of a book or what I read or what I researched.
Okay. Yeah.
It's purely based on my own life experiences.
And those testimonies are usually the most attainable and just digestible, to be honest.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your struggles in your childhood and how you found sports and how you really got into that world.
Well, believe it or not, I wasn't the smartest coming up, even in grade school. I struggled a little bit with my academics, but my parents were so genuinely nice to me that I had kind of tutors even in grade school, especially for math. You know, when you talk about 6 divided into 30, which it seems pretty simple, but I think I was a little bit dyslexic or something, because I just couldn't figure math out. Now I was good in drama. Same,
me too.
In sports, I mean, I get A+ in that, but I struggled a little bit in the academics, but I've always kind of naturally been a good athlete or a great athlete because my mom, she was an athlete. She actually went to high school with Wilma Rudolph, the track star in Clarksville. Yeah. They actually went to high school together.
Wow.
And then my dad was a U.S. Army boxing champion.
Sheesh.
So they both had kind of athletic genes. And
which just came right down to you.
Which came right down to me. And I would tell any and everybody, your children are a product of what you are.
Yep.
And that DNA and them genetics are so strong, some of the things that your dad, Terrence, possessed, you possess them as well, and I see that in you too.
Same.
Yes. So it was a struggle academically, but I was a hard worker, so I managed to maintain. And then when you excel in sports, I have to be honest with you, you kind of are given a lot of favors.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people look to support you because they see it and they realize how talented you are in sports.
And which people started to notice when you went to Developers High School, right? And so talk about your high school experience and then how people were called to you when it came to sports.
You know what? I absolutely love my high school experience. I mean, for those of us who are blessed to still be here today, we still communicate with each other. We still stay in contact.
Wow. So you built a family.
Yes. Because it was so diverse back in the early 70s. You had white, you had Mexican, you had Latino, you had African, you had your Jewish students, what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
But we didn't see any color at all.
Wow.
If I didn't like you,
Yeah,
it wouldn't have anything to do with the color of your skin, you know.
That's powerful.
But that taught me how important it is to accept all people, you know, no matter what background they come from, no matter what nationality or whatever.
Right.
So
it allows you to actually see people for who they are.
Yes.
You know, and that even does include their culture, but it's like, I'm not attacking you or liking you for your culture. I'm just embracing you.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Exactly.
In the 70s.
Yes.
You know, that's so powerful because I feel like a lot of people still carry that prejudice side
Right.
of them and they struggle now.
Yes.
And so the fact that you will be able to be in such a diverse place and really form your eyes and your heart around genuine love and genuine people, like, that's a beautiful experience, and that's why you do the work that you do today.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think
Absolutely.
so. You know, we kind of accepted everybody, and at the Votes, we all got along. You know, it's like a Caucasian family. I spent many of nights spending the night over their house. Okay, or a Caucasian friend of mine will come and spend the night in my community. You know, that's just how diverse we were and accepting as we were of other people. So, you know, I learned even back in my early days in high school that it's very important that, you know, you honor and you respect all people, regardless of, you know, the color of their skin.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for telling us about your family and growing up. Next, we're going to dive into sports because, yes, high school is definitely where you took off.
Right.
Wow. So thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
telling us about your childhood. Amazing. So
Thank
now
you.
you're in high school, and this is when the sports really kick off and you start to get more recognized. So talk about your first experience of stepping onto the field, because you also played football,
Yes.
and on the court in high school. And tell me just about your journey.
You know what? I was ever ready when I came out of Nathan Hill in elementary in the 8th grade. I mean, we won city championships, you know, in baseball, football, and basketball.
Yeah. Baseball, football, and basketball.
In grade school. Okay. But, you know, I would definitely have to mention that I grew up with and I was taught with some of the best athletes in the history of Toledo. And I have to mention a man who I feel was the greatest two-sport athlete, or three-sport athlete, or maybe four-sport athlete, because he ran track, played baseball, played basketball, and football.
Wow.
By the name of Melvin Gaines, okay?
Melvin Gaines.
Yes, he grew up on Parkdale Avenue with all of us. He was like God, okay? When I was in the 6th, 7th grade, we would go and watch him play at DeVilbiss, you know, because he went to DeVilbiss as well. And this guy was like 5'9", weighed like 160 pounds. He wasn't big. Yeah. And bow-legged, I mean, just extremely bow-legged. People will recognize who I'm talking about. So I was taught, I learned from him. Okay. Because they used to have two-a-day practices, football out at DeVos High School. So I was like his fetch boy. I would go get his lunch. if he said to me, "Go get me that water over there," I'll go get the water, hand it to him, and I just marveled his talents. This guy, he was just unbelievable. You couldn't stop him in anything. So I think what encouraged me. So you were around
him all the time, learning.
And what encouraged me and inspired me to be as great as he was, or maybe even greater, I don't think I ever was, and I still don't, was Mr. Melvin Gaines. Yeah, and then there were other mentors in the neighborhood that would, you know, when you're younger and you compete against some of the older ones, back in the day, they didn't care how old you was. It wasn't like, oh, you're a young boy, so I'm gonna give you some slack. No. They will put it on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? They will put, and that I think had a lot to do with why I excelled as I did at DeVille. So I went in as a freshman, played varsity basketball as a freshman. As a freshman.
Huge.
You know, we competed in football as well, but this was basketball. I played as a freshman.
Okay.
And then it went off from there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hard work and determination. And it wasn't only me. We were a community of other great athletes. The guy that
everyone supported everybody,
too.
Yes.
And the guy that lived a door away from me, he ended up getting a scholarship to Ohio State University.
Wow.
And again, most people recognize who I'm talking about. Mr. Farley Bell. So
everybody.
Me and him were like that. Yes.
That's amazing. Because as you're speaking, I'm literally like envisioning myself in the middle of it, watching it happen, and so I just see this powerhouse of a community where it's like everyone is winning, everyone is pushing each other, like everyone is inspired. It's like a chain effect, like domino effect. Everyone is inspiring each other by going hard, and so I want to talk a little bit about the most brought up game from your high school time, which is the Scott versus the Velvets game.
In basketball. Yes.
And
football was the Shoe Bowl.
The Shoe Bowl, okay.
City championship out at University of Toledo, yes.
So talk about being a part of such huge games just in high school.
You know what? A lot of people in the city of Toledo still talk about the Scott DeVille's high school game. I mean, you've got over 3,000 fans there, you know,
there to support.
At the Benny Williams Fieldhouse, you know. And a week before, 6 days before, I had rushed for like 328 yards out to the University of Toledo on the football field. I had 3 interceptions. I had 3 touchdowns and broke all kind of records. This was on Thanksgiving Sunday. Back in 1974.
Wow. Okay.
Because does Thanksgiving still fall on a Sunday?
No, it's a Thursday.
Oh, is it a Thursday?
Yep.
Well, okay, so this must have been the Sunday before Thanksgiving. I think it was.
Okay.
Maybe the Sunday, November 24th, I think it was, 1974, out the University of Toledo. And it was, you know, all the Blade newspapers, everybody said it was going to be a close game. DeVille was St. John's because they had a good team. They had a really good team. And we thought, we'll see about that. You know, we were geeked for the game, and we ended up beating them 42-20 out at the University of Toledo. And it's funny, my partner that I work with right now at Taylor Automotive Family, Tom Cole, you guys know Tom, the big guy, he was an assistant coach on St. John's sideline.
Wow.
My senior year at DeVille.
Wow.
Yes.
Look how the world just comes right back around. That's awesome.
So now we work together, you know what I mean? And been friends for over 40 years. And I've been on all kind of his BCSN shows and everything.
Pretty cool.
So that was it for football. Now the basketball, Mr. Truman Clater for the Scott Bulldogs. So I played the championship on a Sunday. On that, now let me get this right. On that Saturday, we opened the season against Scott.
Woo!
Scott versus DeVille was at Benny Williams Fieldhouse, right? I only had you know, they say you have to get game conditioned for different sports. You know, I only had like 6 days You got to get your legs right. You got to get
your
breathing right
on the field.
Yes.
And then you had to train for a whole nother sport.
Yes. 6 days.
6
That's all
days.
I had before we open up.
And we're talking about Scott.
Yes, which was a ranked team at the time.
So just wow. Talk about that transition. How did you keep your mind so sharp and focused for these two huge, games?
Again, it reverts back to what Tavi, what I said in this interview, that growing up in an environment of discipline, a village, all the neighborhood parents are, very supportive. Putting that structure, putting that guidance in your life. Living to standards, living to values. All of that encompassed me being able to be competitive. And that translated to, what I did on the football field, what I did on the basketball court. So,
gotcha.
I think...
it's so vital to have that team support system,
And it was just a natural transition, not just for me, but for most other of my friends who were athletes in the community. Because that's all we did every day is play sports.
Play sports all together.
And one day we would play 4 sports. We'd be on the baseball diamond in the morning. We get sick of that. We'll go throw a football around, play tackle football, try to kill each other, right? Then we'll go, we get sick of getting like black eyes or scraped knees or whatever. Then we'll go on the basketball court and throw some elbows.
What?
And then the street lights come on and it's time to go home.
Oh, man. Wow.
So it's repetitive. If you do that every day during your early developmental years, if you do that, a lot of things become natural.
Got you. So then, unfortunately, you guys lost that game, but you did get your revenge.
Yes.
Not too long later on in the season, right? Where you guys actually beat Scott.
No, we never beat Scott.
No.
We never ever. We did beat them, but this particular game, Truman Claytor had 40 points at Benny Williams. He was just unstoppable. A lot of people in the city know who Truman Claytor is.
Wow.
He works for Unison Behavioral Health now. He's in Toledo.
Okay.
And after only 6 days with me, transitioning into basketball, I had 38. Okay, I had 38.
Okay.
So I say to Truman now, look, great game. We're like brothers even now. But I say to him now, great game. But I just got finished breaking records in football, and I still dropped 38 on y'all. So, he really kind of annoys me when he turns around to me. Because they won the game. When he turns around to me and said, yeah, you should have had 2 more. Because he had 40, and I had 38, and they beat us by 2.
Man. Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah. So those are great memories.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that. And I know soon. So we had a successful, just time in high school, and then you're transitioning now to college. Talk about that transition, because you did a huge jump. You had this heavy-hearted community that invested, that supported, that helped build you, and then talk about why you decided to make the decision you made and going off to college. Talk about that.
Well, it was very difficult for me at the time. Unfortunately, things happen in our lives. Sometimes they're good things, sometimes they're not. And unfortunately for me, my senior year, my mom and dad got a divorce. Okay, and during the recruitment stage, I was recruited for over, I would say, 300 different Division I college teams for both football and basketball. Wow. It's like Woody Hayes would be.
What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, he would be in our home like twice a month from the Ohio State University. Bo Schembechler, the Michigan University coach, would be in our neighborhood, right?
Wow.
Twice a month, and I didn't, at the time, I thought, well, so what, Coach Hayes, you know what I mean? not realizing the magnitude of who this guy actually was.
Wow.
And Bo Schembechler. And then Jerry Tarkanian from UNLV flying into Toledo, Ohio from Vegas. And then John Wooden. Everybody knows the doctor, the philosopher. John Wooden, UCLA coach. Coached Lou Alcindor and many of those championship teams.
All of these coaches are coming to you.
Coming to see me. TC in Toledo, Ohio.
TC.
At 2012 Parkdale Avenue. So that's when I like to reflect back sometimes and think about, the magnitude and the power that we were able to develop here in our city of Toledo, right in our own villages, right in our own communities, just based on our character and our ability to excel in athletics. So yeah, I say all the time, we kind of like were the original pioneers that opened the floodgates for the city of Toledo.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel good about that.
Good.
I feel honored about that.
You should. You should. You've put in a lot of work. And so you're saying that your parents were, so how did your parents' split affect your decision for college?
It wasn't, it was ill-timed. Let me just put it that way. I wish it hadn't happened like that. Because maybe I wouldn't have decided to go to the University of Tennessee. Although Tennessee has been great to me, they still are. I'm going down there in a couple weeks. We're having our basketball reunion, so I'll be flying down there and seeing my family down there. But I always try to advise the schools and the younger student athletes today, keep your talents locally or somewhat locally. You know what I mean? Like somewhere in the Midwest, not too far away. And I'll tell you why. This is very important. Because this is where all your bread and butter is. Okay?
Yeah.
People know about you. They respect you. They've watched you. They look forward to following your career.
Yes.
You know?
They do, yeah.
So Tennessee really wasn't a good choice for me. And I tell a lot of people, it was very political.
Yeah.
Let me just put it that way. It was very political why I chose the University of Tennessee. And I don't want to really delve into it, but it was based around me making sure that my mom was going to be okay.
Okay.
Once my dad had left the home and we had this big house and she didn't know how she was going to afford to pay for it and all that. That really struck a chord in my heart, And I was like, I got to do something for my mama.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I
got to make sure she's going to be okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what I did.
Okay, well, thank you, Terry. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So next we're going to break into more so like your mental health, going through these different transitional stages in your life.
Okay. Yes. You know what? High school was a very, very exciting time. I was the king of the high school, DeVille High School. My girlfriend was actually the queen of DeVille High School.
You guys won prom, king and queens together.
Yes. And we had a beautiful baby girl together. Even back in high school, I was a junior, and that was kind of kept quiet. But yeah, I had to mention that. And Latricia, I love you to death.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wow, so what an experience, right? So you had to make the decision based off of the security of your family, your mom, and I think that just reveals and shows your heart, right?
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And so this is another this is actually one of the biggest transitions that starting off of your life of moving away from home and now finding your own community. So you're in Tennessee.
Yes.
You know, now it's the weather's different.
Yes.
The people are different.
The food's different.
The food is different. So talk about how that transition was, because I mean, you went there on scholarship, so there is an expectation of success and coming out of you. Right. So how did you meet that expectation and then build your comfortability, your community?
You know, Tavi is really tough. I have to be honest with you, especially my freshman year, because I'm like living in the unknown. And as you just stipulated, the South is completely different of what I was used to.
It sure is, yeah.
In so many aspects, you know what I mean? But I think one thing that's always allowed me to be successful in life is mentally I'm extremely tough. And I realize we're all going to face life challenges, but that shall pass too. You know, so when something comes at me or I'm uncomfortable in a situation, I deal with it in the most positive way that I can, because I know this tough period is eventually going to be over with. Yeah. And things are going to originate back to being normal again, or even positive.
Who did you get that mindset from to always look at things on a positive perspective?
My parents.
Your parents, okay.
My mom and dad. My mom and dad. You know what I mean? I used to watch them sit down after they argued and then kiss and make up and negotiate as a unit at the dinner table.
How? At the dinner table?
At the dinner table. I don't know if it was for me, but I seen it. Not
behind. I mean, some things probably behind closed doors, but in order for you to see the full, process, the arguments, and then the debating and the love, to see, that's very healthy.
Yes.
Wow.
And that is why they were together for so long. You know, they worked as a unit. You're not, and when you're involved in a partnership or a marriage or whatever, you're not going to always agree with each other. Right. You know. But that's no reason to sulk about it. Right. That's no reason to drop your lip down to the ground. That's no reason to be evil and nasty about it, you know. And they weren't. I would hear them argue because of their voices. And then 45 minutes later, I see them at the table so how do you want these kitchen counters to look? I mean, what color would you like, dear? That was my dad. He was real smooth. Maybe me super smooth, you know. And a lot of people, not saying that I am, but a lot of people, they are shocked. They're absolutely shocked right now at this stage of my life, because they say I remind them of so much of my dad. Wow. And that is an honor when people tell me that.
I love that.
And my mom was kind of feisty. I mean, she'll cuss you out in a minute. She don't care. I mean, she was just a type of everybody know Dottie C, Dorothy Crosby. Everybody know her reputation. You do not play. Yeah. Right? She used to be a hall monitor at DeVos High School.
Wow.
For many years.
Okay.
And a lot of
while you were there.
Yes. No, I was gone.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Tennessee. And she was working. She was still giving back, to the high school.
Amazing.
Your Tina Butts and all that. She was a hall monitor when that era was in, and she used to literally kick the bathroom doors in. Like, girl, get your out of there.
Get to class.
Yeah, up in here smoking. Who do you think Dottie C was tough, man, and everybody knows. So
you got your tough demeanor from your parents, but then also it showed you to look at things in a positive way.
Yes.
I'm built to go through this and withstand this. Yes. So it too shall pass.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that mental aspect, that toughness, I will say. Yeah, but Tennessee was tough.
Okay, so talk about that.
It was tough.
Talk about that.
The people were different, as we discussed. The food was different. The environment was different. The attitude was different. It was all different.
Right.
So you had to be a certain type of individual to be able to embed all that was going on around you, because it was so different, accept it, and deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That takes, a special type of person.
It sure does.
And in regards to homesick, I wasn't homesick, because Many others were. In my freshman class, they were like, "Oh, I can't take this. I need to go back home and sit on my mommy's lap or whatever." You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're like, "This is an experience.
Yes.
This is something new. I ain't going back right now."
No, I'm not going back. No, this is what I'm doing. You know, I'm going to stick it out. But I think one thing that one of the many things that really helped me survive at the University of Tennessee. Southern people are just the sweetest. They are so congenial. They really, really are. I mean, they just, coming from the Midwest and kind of hardcore or whatever you want to call us, the Midwesterns or whatever.
A little hardcore, rough around the edges, but sweet.
Yeah, but they so sweet down there, man. Honest to God, I mean, it just blew my mind. Wow. And a lot of people would think that their demeanor was very innocent and naive, and maybe it is, but it was a big attraction for me.
I love
it. It was a huge. So that's what kept me going. What was your favorite
thing about Tennessee and being there? Was it just the overall experience of being different, or?
And how sweet the people were.
Okay.
And the hospitality they show you. You're always welcome. I mean, the food is just the best ever, because I like to eat. So, I mean, the food is good. And, it was just a completely different experience of what I was used to. So that made it so exciting.
Well, by them being so sweet, did it kind of remind you of the type of community you had back at home?
So that
was a safe place.
Yes, that made me feel really comfortable in that environment because that's the type of environment I grew up in.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So now you're in Tennessee. You're doing your due diligence. You're working. You're working out. You're doing school. You're building your crowd. And shortly after towards graduation, you were drafted. Woo! Another big transition, Terry.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I have not even had the privilege to sit down with someone who has been drafted and went to the NBA. So this is just such an honor for me. And
thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
And I just want to know more about that experience, of being in this world, finally adapting, and then getting a phone call from your buddy,
right?
While you're training, right?
Yes,
so talk about that, and just share with us about your drafting experience.
Oh man, it was a true blessing for anybody to get drafted in any sport. I was drafted the 62nd best player in the world.
First
at
of all,
that
time. We don't have to be so humble right now.
Well, I'm just,
Because to be on a list that is comparing your talent, your hard work, your efforts to other people in the world.
Yes.
And you made the list. How did you feel about that? Was that a proud moment? Okay, I'm actually getting somewhere. I'm going somewhere. People are seeing it, Did you ever have that type of aha moment, I'm doing this?
Yeah, I did, but in actual fact, I thought I should have went earlier. I thought I should have been the 35th pick, you know what I mean? But, things is based around politics at that time. But yeah, I was very, very proud to be drafted in the NBA. I was in such good shape, honest to God.
I know, you talk about the pool.
I would swim. I would dive in the pool, swim a whole length of the pool underwater.
One breath.
Yeah, one breath. And then underwater, turn back around, turn around in the water, underneath the water, and swim all the way back without coming up. So my lung capacity was I was ready.
Your capacity in general.
Yes. And I was cut, I was I'm not like I am now. I was some type of atlas type of guy.
Wow.
Because that was one of my major strengths was, strong. Plus I was super quick and I was fast. And I think being a two-sport All-American helped me in the game of basketball.
Wow.
I really, really do, with that toughness mentality,
Absolutely.
and not afraid to get bumped and throw an elbow or two. So yeah, my NBA experience of being drafted was very exciting. I didn't even know my best friend found me. He knew where I was in the pool working out. He found me. He's like, TC, you going to the Kansas City Kings? You going to the Kings? And they picked you, man. Third round. And you know, I'm trying to be like Iceberg Slim, like playing it off like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
About time.
But yeah, that was a very exciting moment for me.
So were you a fan of Kansas City Kings before that moment?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. No.
So you had to.
But you go where you want it, right?
So you were from Tennessee to Kansas.
Right. And I'm thinking, ching ching, ching ching.
So then you're working out, you're in shape.
Right.
The top tier shape you've ever been in, and then you get drafted.
Right.
So how was that moving process? Because now it's like, all right, new transition, new world,
again,
going pro.
Yes.
You know, you're with the big dogs now, so I know that you had to go through a different type of training. So being in the shape that you were in, and then coming into the training for pros, tell me about that experience, because you're surrounded now by people who've been in the game.
Right, and that's just as good as I am or better.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's all political because the veterans, the one with the guaranteed money, the contract, they don't show up to camp. You know.
They're been there, done that.
Yeah. They're like, we let the rookies fight it out. You know what I mean? So you get to rookie training camp, you got 60 people there from all over. You got walk-ons, you got 5th round picks, you got 10th round picks, you know what I mean?
And you walked in and you just felt like you knew you belonged.
Well, yeah, but that was kind of daunting when you're drafted in 3rd round by the Kansas City Kings, but yet you haven't made the team.
Okay.
Nothing is guaranteed.
Right, okay.
Okay, you have to show us that you deserve this money we're getting ready to give you, okay? So you got 60 people there.
Wow.
The opening day of camp. You know, you got walk-ons or whatever, and you're competing. It's like crazy.
And let's talk about that, because I just got this spark of that moment where you have to compete, where you have to prove your position.
Yes.
If
you want to get paid.
But those are rare selective moments in people's lives, right? Because sometimes we just cruise through life. Sometimes we just do things that are just easy for us that we know that we're skilled at. But now you want something so bad, you have to prove your position and where you belong. Right. So talk about just that experience, right? Let's just dive a little bit deeper into that.
That's a great question. You're such a great interviewer, man. Honest to God, I love you to death. Well, first of all, it's the mental part of it.
Yeah.
Okay? Because when you come from Tennessee and Toledo, Ohio, Parker Avenue, and you finally got your dream, you're looking at your dream possibly becoming true, right? And you walk in the gym and see 60 people you don't know that's vying for the same thing you are.
This position's mine.
Right. Everybody's saying that, okay? So who's the toughest right there? Who's the toughest right there? You know what I mean? So it's a mental thing. It's not so much the physical thing.
Right.
It's the mental challenge that you face with, okay? That's going to see you through. Because we all good. We all can pat behind the legs, behind, we all can do that. Everybody, all 60 of us.
Yeah.
But who's mentally the toughest, right? So that was a challenge, but I was ready for it both physically and mentally.
Okay, so what were your affirmations or the things you were holding on to be the toughest for yourself?
Well, hey, you just get out and compete. You may mess up sometimes, but you forget about it. You have to forget about the mess ups and move on. You can't dwell on it because it's such a fast pace thing about the process, So you do some good things and you keep trying to focus on doing those good things. You know what I mean? And the things you don't do so well, or you haven't done so well, you forget about those and move on.
You sure do.
Because you don't have time to think about the negative. You have to focus on the positive.
On the positive. There it is again. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that could be tricky. That could be, especially when you're vying for, a lifetime contract.
Yeah. Okay.
Where you'll be financially secure for the rest of your life.
Woo! Okay, so you're in camp, you're kicking butt.
Yes.
And so let's kind of just speed through what happened. You're in that process. You're playing games. Talk about that. What's next?
Well, I survived the 60 that were there, which they cut it down to like 25.
Wow. Okay.
And then you have to survive the 25. And don't forget the regular team, the veterans are not even there. They don't
right.
They're still on vacation in Miami on the beach somewhere. Okay. And I made the team. I made the team.
Woo! You were the toughest out of 60.
I made the team. So it was myself, another guy called Reggie King from University of Alabama. We were the only two rookies out of all the walk-ons, all the 60 others that they kept. So I made it through 60 other people that were just as talented as me. So we played 10 exhibition games. I performed extremely well, and I actually opened up the regular season against the Philadelphia 76ers at Kemper Arena in Kansas City. I was actually on the bench that guy.
Wow.
And a guy called Daryl Dawkins. He was like 6'11", weighed like 325 pounds of muscle. Okay, this guy was like,
oh my gosh, huge.
He was the first NBA player that actually dunked and shattered the glass backboard. And I was on the Kansas City bench at the time, so I
got to see that.
I witnessed that, and don't forget they had Dr. J at the time, Julius Erving,
wow.
the doctor. So I ran out on the court, and I still have a piece of that fiberglass.
Are you serious?
Today, I still have, because I picked the piece up.
Absolutely. I was right there with you. Like, I'm gonna take this moment.
It was amazing that him breaking that glass board. This had never been seen in NBA history.
Wow.
Okay. And so I must be the only NBA or ex-NBA player. And I do consider myself an ex-NBA player because I played 4 games.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it don't matter. I guess
you was in the NBA and you was a player.
Yeah, for 4 games. You know what I mean? But I must be the only ex-NBA player that's gone 4 wins and no losses.
4 wins. No,
so we beat Dr. J, Philadelphia 76ers. We beat the Los Angeles Lakers with Magic. Okay.
Wow.
We beat Chicago Bulls and the Denver Nuggets.
Wow.
And then unfortunately they cut me from the team. I got released from the team.
Why?
Well, it's political. I always try to tell people it's not someone's physical ability alone. It is, you have to consider that. But I know I was good enough to play in the NBA for many, many years. And I still believe that, okay? But it's 3 things that you need. You need God, you need timing, and you need luck. And you need all 3 of those things.
To be working.
You need all 3 of those things to work for you. So when I got drafted to Kansas City Kings, they already had 5 guards. So I knew from the start, mentally, it was going to be tough for me to stay anywhere. But I blew it, and this is very significant. I blew it. Coach Cotton Fitzsimmons at the time told me to stay in Kansas City. They were going to put me in an apartment, pay for it, give me a Mercedes-Benz coupe, pay for that, pay me a certain amount of money every week just to work out and stay in shape. And he said to me, we're going to work you in the system. All you have to do is be patient and stay here. You won't travel with us when we go away, but when we are in town, we expect you at practice. We want you to stay. And when we have home games, we want you here with us.
Yes.
Not on the bench, but
in the present.
Yeah, in the present, right. Man, guess what I did?
Hothead.
Yeah. Say it again.
Hothead.
One more time.
Hothead. Hey. You said no to Mercedes-Benz. Whoop. Hothead.
And boom.
Cheddar.
And
an apartment.
and can't play with just stay in shape. All you gotta do is go to the gym every day. That's all you
On
gotta
us.
do. Yeah, and shoot. Go on and be with us.
We'll call them. Can they give me your deal?
So that is what Tavi. That is one of my biggest life regrets. It is. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I was. Yeah. That's just a little. I'm going to say overconfident. I'm not going to say arrogant or cocky, but and I suppose if I had better guidance at the time, or maybe a brother or sister to call. I'm an only child, so I had to make that decision myself. Maybe if I had that, they would have talked me out of it and said, "No, are you crazy?
Yeah.
You need to do this." But. The decision was based on me emotionally.
Your emotions.
Yeah. Because I was hurt. Oh my God, I've worked so hard for this dream.
So you only could see that it was shattered instead of, okay, this is the path I'm supposed to go.
Right. You still gonna get there, just a different way.
Yeah.
So I regret that decision. So no.
So then what happened?
I went AWOL. They couldn't find me. I went AWOL. They couldn't find me. I knew where I was, but they didn't.
Yeah. Are you sure you knew where you were? Because I was like, I don't know where I am either.
Well, maybe I didn't know where I was. You're probably right. You're right. But I ended up going back to the University of Tennessee.
Okay.
And getting my degree.
Okay.
That's where I eloped to.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but still, I should have been in Kansas City.
All right. So you got your degree in what exactly?
Sociology.
Okay. Awesome.
Social person.
Social, of course. I should have guessed that.
Yeah,
right?
or psychology.
Or psychology too.
Right.
Okay, so you graduated, you got your degree. Wow.
Yes.
But that's also still a great accomplishment. You went from
It is.
Going pro, and then you were like, I'm going back to school. You didn't completely just derail, but it was like you got your degree, so that was amazing. And so then what happened next?
But I still feel like in my life I didn't achieve to my full potential, and that's kind of hurtful for me, even at this time of my life. That decision should have been to stay in Kansas City, but I was proactive and went back and got my degree at the University of Tennessee. And hey, after that I came back home when I got my degree, and I actually got a job at Fermi 2 nuclear site.
Okay.
When I came back home after I got my degree.
Right, because we're looking at your resume. It's just like, okay, pro NBA, pro stuff, like you're hired. I don't even. Absolutely.
You're funny.
You're hired.
And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. I had some good friends of mine called Mike Carter and Robert Bean. Okay, Mark was the electrician, and I believe Mike was a pipe fitter. And they worked in Newport, Michigan. Okay. Just up the road. They worked at Fermi 2 nuclear site. And I met this guy at the Holiday Inn off of I-75. He was one of the big shots of the company, right? Okay. And I didn't know what he wanted to interview me for. I knew it was some type of job, right? And he knew all about my background. He knew all about my career at Tennessee. He just knew me, done his research, and was like, yeah, we're going to give you a job. And I was like, job doing what? On a nuclear site? He said, you're going to be a quality control inspector, a QC.
Okay, quality control.
Now, that is a position like, So he hired me as that. Wow. Back in the, it must have been mid-'80s, early 80s, yeah. Making like $42 an hour. Ain't got a clue what I'm doing. Right. As a quality control inspector, right? So, do you guys know what a quality control inspector is on a nuclear site?
No, I do not.
So what would one of those do? This is what I did. So I walked around the plant, and you have to sometimes climb up scaffolds because they be doing all kind of work in little corners or whatever, little crevices over here, right? And I had my little chart out, and me not knowing anything about quality control inspecting would inspect their work, and I have to tick off whether it was right or not. And if it was wrong, I would have to tell them, no, you need to redo this.
So, but there was training, or okay?
They didn't let me outside that building for 3 straight months. Yeah, they trained me in house.
Wow.
They trained for 90 days.
Wow.
For 3 straight months. And I still wasn't ready.
Right.
But I was ready enough to go out and pretend like I knew what I was doing.
My goodness. So you moved back. So was that the end of sports for you? So like you moved back and you started doing your quality control inspecting.
Right.
So that's another huge like all these huge transitions. Another huge transition for you.
Especially with something I know nothing about.
Yes. Listen, we've all been there too.
Right.
But you got a special phone call soon after that, right?
I did, and it was amazing. I was kind of getting sick of that job, even though I was stacking.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you wouldn't believe, like $42 an hour back in the early 80s.
In the 80s. So not soon after that, you got a very important call, right? Correct. Who called you and what happened?
So as I said earlier, I was working as a QC as a quality control engineer at the nuclear site, Fermi 2 nuclear site. So I got a call, a strange call from a guy in Britain. And this guy in Britain happened to be Mr. Craig Lynch, who is also from Toledo, Ohio. Was an All-American at Start High School. Many will recognize Craig Lynch. And he was actually over there raising a family and coaching.
Wow.
And he said to me, Crosby, I want you to come over here and play for me. Because he was like a player coach at the time. And I thought, England, the first thing I said was, they don't have cars. They get around in horse and buggies. Horse and buggies, I thought. I mean, that's just how much I knew about international living, okay?
Right.
But obviously that's not true. They had cars back then. So Tavi, it just kicked off from there.
Wow.
And I went over, after speaking to my mom and family.
So how many years was it from playing pro to going overseas?
6 months. I worked at
Oh.
Fermi 2 for 6 months.
So,
and I got the call.
Okay, because I was like, well, what happened with your fitness after that? But it was 6 months.
Yeah,
okay.
It was fitness.
So was it weird getting back on the court?
No, because, back in the day, I exercised every day.
Okay.
Even though I was working at Fermi 2, I still was in the gym.
Okay.
After work or at the weekends or whatever. So I've always been physically active because I feel better. Man. I like to stay in relatively good shape if I can. So I was ready for it.
Okay.
So I went there and oh my God.
Talk about your tour because I know you went to a few places.
Yeah, what an experience. I played for Craig, as I say, start high school, graduate. In fact, Craig, I think, is the second all-time leading scorer at Start High School.
Wow.
My coach. And he had a great career at Furman University.
Okay.
Very, very well-known legend here. And he tore the whole city of Toledo up. I mean, he scored like 40 on Scott back in the day, right? 35 on, because he went to weight, dude was unstoppable.
He's a beast. Okay.
He was unstoppable. But yeah, I had an excellent career over there. I played for 17 years in Europe. 12 of those were in Great Britain.
Wow.
And I am considered to this day, and I'm very proud of my achievements, especially in the British League.
Absolutely.
I am considered by many over there as the top 5 greatest players that ever played in Great Britain.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
In the top 5.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you had 6 months after a huge transition, you moved to another country.
Whole different country.
So we talked about Tennessee being different.
Mm-hmm.
Great Britain. I've never been, but I can only imagine the difference. And so talk about, like, because obviously for a person who wants to pour and give to the community, you need community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so talk about how you found your friends and how you found your footing being so far away from home.
Well, just check this out. Before I came back, or when I did come back in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
I had spent more time in Europe than I had being born and raised here in America.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So imagine that. You know, I had spent more. Now it's caught up because I've been back here since 2012. But when I first came back here in 2012, I was more British than I am American. You know, because I spent more time in Britain than I had where I was born and raised. You know,
right. Mm-hmm.
And I just think that adds to the versatility of what I'm able to cope with and the challenges and the excitement I get.
Yeah.
And just have an adventurous heart, you know, and trying to learn.
Yeah.
I seek to learn each and every day. That's
Absolutely.
very important to me.
It is.
So the language is different over in Greybull. The food is terrible. You know, I have to be honest, you know, the fish and chips are good. But then again, the experience of the pubs, you know, and the social that you have, and drinking the beers, and you know,
so that social community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say Britain is just as much my family as America is.
Okay. Good.
And that's how much I appreciate my time spent over there.
And you also started a family.
Yes, I have a young man who's head of everything over there, Boys and Girls Club. You know, he met the Queen about 2 years ago for his outstanding achievements in the community.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yes, called Leon Dale Crosby. I named it after my dad.
Oh.
My daughter's an absolute, now you're pretty. And she's pretty too. So like when she comes here this summer, I want you two gonna have to connect. Cause she is just a doll, honest to God. She's Ebony Marie. She's just so,
Ebony.
and their mom is very, very nice too. Her mom is a senior partner in a law firm over there in Manchester, Manchester, England. Yes.
I heard she picked you up off the street. Like,
she did. So can I just? Do you mind if I just said so? I'm chilling, right? I had wrecked 6 cars prior to.
Oh my goodness,
to me walking. They you know, they put me on a restrictive walking course, okay? Because I had unfortunately wrecked 6 of their cars because you know the steering wheel's on the other side. I don't know if you knew this.
I did know.
And they drive in the opposite direction.
So after the multiple car accidents, it didn't click to you, huh?
No, they weren't going to give me a 7th time.
No.
They gave me 6 times. They weren't giving me a 7th.
Oh my God.
So I'm chilling, catching the bus, right? And this bad lady stops her car, this is in the summertime. She had the arrow, rolls down the window and said, "Hey, how you doing today?" Smiling, beard, and I'm like, "Who are you?" She said, "Hi, I'm Sue. Where you going?" And I was like, first I thought, why you worried about where I'm going? You know what I mean? But then I looked at her and I thought, no, I got to talk to her.
I'm going wherever you want to go.
Yeah, and I said, "Oh, I'm going here." She said, "Come on, hop in. I'll take you in there." And man, that conversation, it just got off.
22 years.
Yeah, it got off 22 years. 22 years later. And that's how it worked, man. I said, like, "So you want to go out and hang out or whatever?" She said, "Sure." I mean, I stopped and asked you, "Did you want to ride?" "Yeah, I'd like to get to know you."
And that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. So that's my kid's mother. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. And then you started a family. You had your community out there.
Yes.
You had your career.
Great friends too.
Great friends in Great Britain. And then you get another phone call.
I have been getting calls about my mom over the years. And my friends were like, "T, you need to come on, man." I'm like, "Why do I need to come on? I have family here. I have beautiful kids here. You know, I'm good. I don't need to come back to Toledo, Ohio." You know? They said, "No, man, your mom is sick." Like, and then the last time my best friend called me and said, T, man, I'm just keeping it real with you. You need to be here with your mom right now as soon as you can because she's not doing very well. So I ended up coming home. I think it was in April of 2012.
Okay.
Just to check on her, and I explained to my family what I was doing. And I realized that she was at a stage where she was deteriorating very rapidly. And that kind of messed me up.
Yeah.
To see her so active and vibrant and energized all her life to a life that's completely different to what I've ever could imagine or seen, And so I knew right then that I had to make a move. So this is how it went. I kissed her, hugged her, I told her I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Right? And just to try to give her some strength. So I went back to my family in Britain, and we just had to sit down and have a candid talk. And I had to say to them, look, I know we've been together for 22 years as a family. The kids are here, but right now I gotta go and look after my mom. And that's where the only child thing comes in. Because if I would have had brothers or sisters or both, maybe they could have looked after her. But I just felt being the only child, that was my sole responsibility to come home and nurse my mom. So that's when I came back 2012. And
why did your family not come? Would have been a longer process to get their passports and all that stuff? Or?
Me and Sue had talked about, but don't forget, I said earlier that she's a senior partner in a law firm.
Right, okay.
Laws are different than they are in Great Britain. So that would have meant if she did decide to come, she would have pretty much had to start all over again and take her bar exams because the laws are different.
Okay.
So that was out the question.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I loved her and, I still love her, you know what I mean? How can I ask her to uproot and sacrifice all of that? For me, it just didn't make sense. Yeah. So, they were there, I'm here. That lasted for a good 2 years. And then it kind of just started to break apart. And that's how it went. But I still speak to my kids. In fact, I'm so blessed they're coming this summer. Summer 2023. Both Leon and Ebony will be with Daddy TC, okay?
Come on now. Hey.
Yes.
Good. So then, unfortunately, I'm so sorry. My condolences. Your mother passed away not soon after. 2012. And then now you're picking up the pieces, So what were you doing now? What are you doing now? After all of that and having to regroup and you moved from your family and then you lost your mother.
Yeah.
And so what are you doing now?
I'm actually a community outreach ambassador for the Taylor Automotive family, doing philanthropy work, supporting businesses, supporting individuals, trying to help where I can. I mean, I love role models in motion, and so I am just so grateful and blessed for Steve and Mr. Taylor's, hiring me 5 years ago, and the Taylor Automotive family are just wonderful. And the one thing I do want to say, out of all my blessings and all my travels and everything I've done throughout my life, it is amazing how I could have the opportunity to travel the world doing different things. Just not sports, but life in general. Been to so many different countries: Greece, Spain, Italy, France, you name it. And to be able to come back to the communities I grew up in and give back to those same communities, different people obviously, but to the same communities, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
And you still keep your vibrant energy, your bright smile. You still have so much to give. And I love that about you. That's amazing. Wow. So I heard that you're writing a book.
Yes.
Talk about your book.
Well, it's titled simply The Athlete. Just THE Athlete. Right? And I think that our story will explain why I named it that. Because that's what I was all my life, you know.
An athlete, yeah.
It's not a basketball player. It's not a football player. It's not a baseball player, but it's an athlete that does all sports pretty well.
Okay.
Does all sports pretty well.
Good.
So that's...
And it breaks down your life story a little bit more, right?
Yes.
Isn't it? Amazing.
And so that's forecast to come out Mother's Day.
Of this year. Of this.
Of
and so why Mother's
2023.
Day?
The book is dedicated to my mom.
To your mother. That's beautiful.
And all the riches that she gave me.
That's amazing. Oh, yes. I love that so much.
And I think she'll be so proud.
She's already proud.
Yes.
Absolutely. I know she is. Well, I want to, before we end this amazing interview, thank you so much, Terry, for your time. I have one phrase that I need you to tell me what it means to you, okay? Willie Horton's basement.
Oh, my God.
We need to know what that means to you.
You know what? I think spending some time in Mr. Horton's basement taught me that no matter how great you are and what you've done in your life, you still need to be a nice person. And you still need to be humble about each and everything that you've done in your life. Yeah, so Mr. Horton was so obliging when we went to his house. And how that happened real quickly was it's a guy, the Bradds family, Bradds, down south in Knoxville, Tennessee. And they also originate from Nashville.
Okay.
He had met a friend of mine called Bobby Smith from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Okay.
So them two connected. Right? Down south, because Murfreesboro is in Tennessee, Nashville's in Tennessee, right? So they were having a conversation one day, and it just happened that my name came up.
Wow.
And Chris brought my name up. Chris was like, yeah, I just spoke to TC here. He's up near Detroit in Toledo. And Bobby said, the TC that went to Tennessee? And me and Bobby Smith were really close back in Tennessee.
Wow.
So that connection allowed all of us, the Bradd family, Bobby Smith, myself, Paul, one of Smitty friends. That Willie Horton story allowed us to all reunite for the first time in 47 years.
Wow. Oh.
And Bobby does.
What a magical moment.
Yes. Bobby does interviewing out in LA. That's what he's done for 25 years. Very, very good at it. So he interviewed Mr. Horton in his basement. And then he interviewed me the same day. And so it was just a very, very special day. I mean,
wow.
I put it, and this basement is like a baseball museum. He's got, it's a huge basement, and all this accolades and awards and trophies and pictures. And his wife is so beautiful. The family is so congenial.
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing.
They welcome total strangers
into their home.
That's
beautiful. Well, we'll be able to see this interview?
Oh, yes, it's on. If you haven't seen it, you late, because it's been out there. I got it on social media, my social media platform.
Okay, tell them where they can find this.
I'm kind of like an OG, old school, right? And I know about Instagram and TikTok and all that for the younger generations, but I think old folks like me, we stick to Facebook. So all you gotta do is go Terry Crosby Facebook or Terrence Crosby Facebook, and you will see the history of all my stories in the community.
Yep.
The Willie Horton interview is on there entirely. And if you don't have it, I can send out a link, but it's right there. Just go to Facebook.
Absolutely.
I put that up. Yeah, but that was you know, you have certain days in your life that are very special, and that was a very special moment in my life.
Wow.
It really was.
I can't wait for our audience to see. We'll
Yes.
put a link down below. Terry,
Yes.
at the end of all of my interviews, I always want to just say you have poured so much out to
Thank
us.
you.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your story and we can't wait for it to touch our audience. But also, as you pour out, we like to pour back in. So I have a bowl of affirmations that you can pick from. And you're going to speak it over yourself. And if you want to have any commentary after that, you can go ahead and speak to our audience.
Nice.
We want to be able to fill you back up.
Girl, you're full of surprises. I love it. I'm going to mix them up a little bit.
Yep, there we
I'm going to
go.
pick this one right here. What did this one say? Oh, man, this is exciting.
I know they're closed pretty tight there.
Oh, my God. This is weird. This ain't nothing but, hey, you got God in this house. Trust me.
Sure.
We are blessed all over. Blessings everywhere. I choose peace. How powerful is that?
You speak it over yourself. I choose peace.
I choose peace. Yes. And that every time I pick one of these, it speaks of me, seriously, which is kind of weird. you know?
Very intentional.
I choose peace. And that's what I choose each and every day because I think it keeps you flowing.
Yeah.
It keeps you positive.
Yes.
It keeps you living.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Sometimes as a single man, I get a little lonely, you know what I mean? But hey, at the end of the day, it's peaceful.
It's peaceful.
It's peaceful.
Wow.
And not to say that if you're in a relationship, that's not peaceful, because that can be peaceful
But you
too.
found your peace where you're at.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I'm finding as I get older, that peace becomes more important to me. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
Beautiful. Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Terry Crosby, for your time, for your energy, for your story.
Tavi, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you.
It's really nice to have you, and thank you guys so much for tuning in with our interview with Terry Crosby. Please stay tuned on Tavi Talks. Next, we'll be interviewing Abby Sarabia on building resilience in Toledo, Ohio. Also, stay tuned for Telus Media Productions. We have a Worth of a Man series coming out soon on your stages. Also, if you are interested in being an interviewee for understanding your worth, please contact us at inmotion.viptalent@gmail.com. Remember, guys, choose peace.